Hello, everyone. How are you doing on this beautiful, beautiful day in the city of Milwaukee? It's great to see everyone here and so glad that you are joining us, whether you're on Zoom or you're on Facebook Live. Make sure you tell your friends, tell the residents, tell our businesses, tell everyone that we are on with some great, important information. Before we get started with our webinar about the Appreciative Inquiry Summit, I want to give you a couple updates. And then after we give some updates, we'll bring on some special guests to talk about this great event. So let's get started with a couple updates here. So many of you may be aware of a couple of things happening in the Nearwest Side. The first one is the planters. I know you've seen them, beautiful planters with the Nearwest Side logo out on 27th Street. We have about 20 of them out there, 18, I believe, 22 out there on the street, and they are amazing. They're supported actually by or maintained by David J. Frank, which is a Nearwest Side business on 35th and Wales. Make sure to check them out. This is a part of our 27th Street Rapid Implementation Program of slowing down traffic. In fact, we may have a video clip here. We recently had a video done by WISN to talk about the planters. Let's show that 1-minute video clip here.
This is the checkers game where grandson and granddad will bond. This is the kitchen where the new boyfriend will unofficially.
Drivers are still clearly trying to get used to them. 18 one-ton concrete planters at the edge of the street to stem the tide of passing on the right at intersections.
People tend to fly down this street.
Cyclist Jim Mauer lives nearby.
Before this was here, you'd actually get people thinking it was almost like two lanes. So they're going to cut on the inside to go in, and this has made it a whole lot safer, I think, in my opinion.
It's a good idea, or?
Yes.
How come?
To keep people passing the right, keep people safe.
The effort is the work of the Business Improvement District here, working with the city in part to create a better environment for business.
You want people to start slowing down. You want them to enjoy these great businesses and restaurants we have.
Executive Director Keith Stanley says the concrete planters engraved with their name are working so well, they could be a model for other areas.
I would encourage all of our communities to take a look at this. We're seeing double-digit decreases in speed and double-digit increases in people's confidence of walking along this neighborhood. That's important to us. We need to slow down the traffic.
Interesting idea there. So, Nick, they're spread across 3 blocks of 27th Street. We all know we'll get our share of snow in the winter. How is it going to work then?
Right, Joyce, I asked the same thing. The plan right now is for them to stay here year-round, even decorating them seasonally, they tell me, but they're still trying to work out those snow removal plans, so they say that decision isn't final.
So hopefully you caught that. If not, we'll make sure we'll give you the link inside the chat. But really exciting for the Nearwest Side to have these planners out. Moving on just to a couple updates before we get to our main event. COVID vaccination. We hope you are have already got your vaccination or you're planning to. Once again, they're safe, free, and effective. If you want more information, call 286-6800. That's the city number, 286-6800, to find out where the closest vaccination location is in your area. The vaccination clinic for the Near West Side. There's free walk-in vaccination vaccines at Neighborhood House, July 14th and the 21st. That's at the International Learning Program at 639 North 25th Street, 639 North 25th Street. Those of you who are familiar with the neighborhood, that is the Central United Methodist Church location, Central United Methodist on 25th in Wisconsin. Check them out to get those walk-in vaccinations complete. And there's contact information there with Cynthia Jasper, if you're interested in more information. Also, the Valete Street Oasis Market, we're doing it this summer, 3 to 6 p.m., Fridays and Saturdays. It's on those who are once again familiar with the Near West Side. Visit the market at 38th and Valete Street. We have fresh produce, tasty treats, mini donuts and popcorn, and a number of our friends and neighbors. And if you just want to stop through and get your empanada and stop at one of the picnic tables there and enjoy this beautiful summer, please do. As we just wrap this up, the Hunger Task Force Mobile Market, that's this Monday, coming up this Monday, July 12th, 1 to 3 p.m. at College Court. College Court is located at 33rd and Highland. Please do stop by. They have always great produce there. I've been there myself. Great deals with the Hunger Task Force Mobile Market. Fresh fruits and veggies, meats, milk, cheese, yogurt, and more. And they accept debit cards, credit cards, and Quest EBT cards. And then finally, the Neighborhood House Food Pantry, Wednesdays from 12 to 2 p.m. and Thursdays 4 to 6. Neighborhood House Pantry is a full choice pantry. You pick the items you like best, select up to 3 days of food, and it serves the residents in the Near West Side, 53208 and 53233. Oh, I also want to throw this out there, and this goes along with what we'll be talking about later in this webinar, is our Brats for Thoughts webinar, Brats for Thoughts event. Once again, it'll be this Thursday, 1 to 3:30 p.m. at Neighborhood House Garden, and this Saturday, noon to 3 at Merrill Park. We're getting out in the community. We want to hear from you, so please do join us. For more information, you can reach out to myself or any one of the Near West Side Partners staff members. We give out free brats. Yes, it is. This is Wisconsin here, so we have to give out brats, chips, and drinks, number of different activities. Get a chance to meet the police, get a chance to meet some of your residents, and we want to hear from you. What's going on in your neighborhood? Now we are going to go, and please forgive me for all that sound that's going on there. We're going to go straight into the program, joined by some special guests. Rachel, can you come on too? We have Lindsay St. Arnold Bell, Associate Director of the Near West Side, and Rachel Snyder, Harley-Davidson representative. And today we're going to be talking about a very special event I think is going to really help lead the Near West Side, both the organization itself and this beautiful, wonderful community, in the direction it needs to go into. So as we think about the Near West Side, the future of the Near West Side, what does it mean for us to live a better quality of life in the Near West Side? And so Rachel, Lindsay, and I will go through that today. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Appreciative Inquiry Summit, you'll learn more about that today. But also we ask you to visit our website, and I'm asking if we can have one of the staff members even put the link on in the chat so you can click on it and register while we're talking. Once again, very important event for us, and we'll get right into it. So I'm gonna kind of set the stage, Rachel and Lindsay, and I won't try to talk too much and let you guys really get into the meat and bones of things. So when people ask, what is this summit? What are we trying to do here? What's going on? So I do have a well-written, may I say, Lindsay, a well-written piece that I want to just share with our residents and our community supporters. The Near West Side has a deep history of entrepreneurialism, collaboration, and innovation. And our 7 neighborhoods are full of great people, services, and companies. Over the last several years, Near West Side Partners has worked alongside residents, community partners to build upon and generate great assets to help accelerate making the Near West Side a better place to live, work, and play. Near West Side Partners is hosting a 3-day immersive Appreciative Inquiry Summit, July 21st to 23rd, to build upon that work. And let you know, yes, it is virtual, so you do not have to show up. At least you have to show up on virtually. During the summit, we will be looking at all the great things we currently have in the Near West Side and dreaming and designing the future together. I want to emphasize those words, dreaming and designing the future together. This summit will help accelerate our mission to revitalize and sustain the Near West Side neighborhood and to ensure its place for healthy and happy people, thriving, united communities in a vibrant that are vibrant and equitable. The appreciative inquiry is a positive approach to community change that focuses on our strengths. Once again, I want to emphasize that our strengths, we're putting our best foot forward. It focuses on the best of what's happening in the community and uses this as a platform to build upon the future. So that's kind of somewhat the stage is. Rachel, what are the objectives, if you can, of the summit?
So Keith kind of touched upon some of them, so I'll go in a little bit more detail. We're titling the summit 7 Neighborhoods, Strong History, Shared Future. And it's really about accelerating. Keith used that word as well, accelerating the mission to revitalize and sustain the Near West Side as a thriving business and residential corridor and through collaboration. So these collaborative efforts to support healthy and happy people, to empower thriving and united communities, and to facilitate vibrant and equitable economies. And so what do we mean by that? So what are some examples within each of those? So supporting healthy and happy people. What are the things we can design for the future, leaning into the strengths and assets of our community to have great housing, schools, and food choices, to have services that support the physical and mental well-being of our residents writ large, not just our residential residents, but everybody who participates in the community. And also thinking about plenty of green space to play, to gather, connect with each other. Those are the types of ideas we're hoping will come out of the summit when we think about healthy and happy people. When you think about empowering, thriving, and united communities, how do we celebrate the diversity of this wonderful, wonderful neighborhood? It's one of our greatest strengths. How do we advance racial equity? How do we commemorate our history and strengthen the future through connectivity, whether it's physical connectivity like transit and how we actually physically move around the neighborhood, to more cultural and personal connection and civic engagement and utilizing the strengths and assets of the neighborhood for us to connect at an individual and group level. And then lastly, to facilitate vibrant and equitable economies, where local businesses thrive along the Near West Side anchor institutions. And obviously I'm a little biased. I certainly want Harley-Davidson to continue to thrive in the Near West Side. How do we create entrepreneurial and welcoming atmosphere where through policy and planning partnerships, there are opportunities for all people to thrive in this great neighborhood of neighborhoods. And so really it's bringing to life and dreaming bigger, but at the same time designing true action to go forward to make this vision of making the Near West Side a great place to live, work, and play a true reality here in the next several years. So that's a long-winded objective.
No, Rachel, if you could, for some of our residents, how would you describe that in the 30-second spiel? Are we trying to do something? Are we just trying to inherently change the Near West Side? What would you say, like, this is really what it boils down to for the people who live in this community?
I think it boils down to taking a whole system approach to lean into the strengths so that we have a shared future that's positive for everybody. And that's why I like that word accelerate. I think that's the heart of what the Near West Side Partners has been trying to do since its inception. It's part of our mission, it's part of our description, and it's really taking that to the next level. And again, speaking, kind of personally from a Harley-Davidson perspective, for us, it also means us taking on a different level of commitment and investment in the neighborhood in terms of our own presence within the neighborhood and really being thoughtful about our role as an anchor institution of the Near West Side.
I really appreciate that, Rachel. This next question, I'm actually going to answer it first, and then Lindsay and Rachel, I want both of you guys, if you can, to add your own flavor, how you felt about your role in participating, how you felt about it. So for me, you talk about participation in the planning summit. For those of you who don't know, we had an opportunity to really come together and look at planning this and what it meant for our community. It was great to see a lot of our anchor institutions represented, some of our residents represented, but see a diversity of voices. I think what the Near West Side Partners has done over the past, going on 7 years, is that we've all come together to create a platform for our community to have a voice, everyone in our community. So it was great doing the planning summit to have these different voices come up with these different ideas and unique perspectives on how do we look at bringing everyone together to really activate and be involved in the summit. So I was pretty excited to see that this is a new platform. I think it's actually, I would even go a little bit further, that this is something unique that you just don't see across the country, to have anchor institutions and representatives and residents and everyone come together speaking the same language about our community and what we can do to improve it. So renters, homeowners, engineers and doctors and nurses, everyone coming together and saying, listen, how do we make the Nearwest Side better? So that was the experience I had. Lindsay, any thoughts on the planning process and your involvement and how you felt it went?
Yeah, thanks, Keith. I guess I would say kind of initially, and I hope this helps to address maybe some of the questions or maybe concerns that some people have when they see 3-day virtual summit. I went into planning our virtual summit with a little bit of healthy skepticism, I think, about how engaging it could be, knowing that, we're just sitting in our rooms looking at a computer. And I left feeling so energized and inspired and really surprised at how interesting this virtual setup was for this kind of summit. We did some one-on-one breakout groups where we got to talk about those things that we love about the neighborhood, about the Near West Side, what we think is working really well. And to hear everybody's different perspectives and then come back together as a group and talk about that as a group was really exciting. There was enough change throughout the course of the 2.5 days that we spent planning this, that I never felt fatigued or, tired of being in front of Zoom. It really kind of had that feeling of being together in a group, in a community, working on this vision together. So I'm really looking forward to what we have in store for us later in July.
I would echo most of
Rachel,
that. Yeah, Lindsay, you stole some of my words, but that's okay. With the added benefit of, I was wearing my pajama pants probably for a good part of the day and a half we had together. So I also had some healthy skepticism, and it all worked out far better than I expected. The whole process, both the appreciative inquiry process of how you bring everybody together, how you really lean into strengths, including really spending some time thinking about what you don't want to lose, right? Like if we're super successful in everything we could possibly dream, what do we want to make sure we do not ever lose about the Near West Side? The process itself, accompanied by how the virtual pieces were managed, really built trust and openness very quickly, far quicker than I would have expected. And you got the benefits of the virtual while managing the downsides, right? You weren't on camera the whole time. It was managed so you kind of come in and out so you don't get that Zoom fatigue. And honestly, in-person events for a day, least of all 2.5 days, are exhausting to the point that sometimes you become ineffective partway through and you don't get to that action. Like, what do we do to really leverage this going forward? And the Appreciative Inquiry Summit is explicitly designed to make sure that doesn't happen. And the way we're going to be able to manage it off of Zoom, I think, will actually enhance all of our abilities to be energized throughout the entire process. So I'm very excited about what we're about to launch into.
Me too. This is really interesting. And Rachel, what it's really, I think, highlights for us is that the same way that many of our for-profit organizations are using innovation and creativity to solve problems, I think in the nonprofit world, and quite frankly, in our communities that sometimes are struggling and feel disenfranchised, we can use innovation, creativity to see some changes. So I'm really excited about this opportunity to do that. So Lindsay, I do have a question for you. I want to throw this out there. We know that we have a lot of diversity within the Near West Side, and we have some people who just aren't able to that weren't able to be involved because of just obligations and other things that may and needs and just things that are happening within their lives. People may ask, so how do we make sure that everyone at least has a voice and that we're connecting as we should do as a community organization, engaging our community members for those who may not actually either have participated in the planning summit or won't be able to participate in the actual summit itself coming up July 21st to the 23rd.
I think what's really exciting about the appreciative inquiry process is hearing everybody's voice is the most important part of the exploration, right? And everybody contributing is so important. So when we began planning, we really thought about how can we ensure that we're hearing from as many Near West Side residents as possible. And to your point, you know, not everybody can take off 3 days to attend virtually. So we've come up with a couple different ideas on how to capture residents' input and residents' voice to be shared at the summit. So we have, as you mentioned earlier, the 2 Brought for Your Thoughts events coming up this week. We had one last week at College Court. And at these events, we are doing audio interviews, we're doing video interviews. We have some activities where you can draw or write about, you know, what you think is working well in the Near West Side, what you don't want to lose, why you're proud of your community, and what your dream for the vision is. And having all of this information is going to be so important to us as we approach these 3 days in July, because this is really going to be the foundation that we build on as we look at how do we design and dream and design our plans for the future. So I'm hoping that we can get as many people to participate at these events as possible. If you're interested in attending and you know you can make maybe 1 day or a couple hours on a day, but maybe can't commit to all 3 days, let's talk. Let's find a way for you to register. Even if you can't commit to the full 3 days, having you there and having our residents present for parts of it is just as important. And we're also going to be doing some text messages and phone calls to people to make sure that this is on everybody's radar and that they have an opportunity to weigh in and participate as they like.
Appreciate that.
You did some of the videos and interviews. I don't know if you have anything fun to share from that last week.
Oh, I appreciate that, Lindsay. I'm actually downloading all those videos and pictures and audio interviews for our team. And what I found really exciting, just preliminary, was that a lot of people, I wasn't ready for it, but a lot of people see the assets of our community and are proud of the community assets. So I got a chance to talk to a family. They work in the neighborhood. Their kids go to school in this neighborhood. They shop in the neighborhood. And they were intentional about, I live here, this is my community. And they wanted to be interviewed. Like, no, put me on camera. I want to talk about how great this neighborhood is. I want to talk about the historic housing. I want to talk about the great schools. I want to talk about even the green space. And they talked about all the boulevards up and down along Highland Avenue. So it was really amazing for me to see that there is, as I mentioned earlier, this putting our best foot forward and highlighting and starting with the positives first. And that was pretty exciting to hear from a lot of the residents. And also there was a candor there that I ultimately feel that's needed, that, you know, how can we make this neighborhood better? You know, we also always mentioned about the grocery stores, but also about some of the reckless driving and things of that nature. So I think it was really exciting to hear from the residents and hear their perspective. And just for those who don't know, we're hoping to compile those videos and have them in a presentation piece to be shown at the summit. So you make sure you have to join us. So please do click on the link to RSVP. I do want to get into what the summit will look like, and just let you know, Rachel, I would love to, if you can, I'm going to talk a little bit about what the summit will look like, but then I want to come back to you, if you don't mind. I want to talk about Mr. David Cooperrider and just this whole entire, like, many people may not know who are viewing who this gentleman is and what he brings to the table and why it's really cool for us to have him. But I just want to start off with what the day will look like. So day 1, July 21st, we'll focus on discovery and dreaming. Once again, this is a part of the appreciative inquiry process. We'll talk about the strengths and the opportunities in the Near West Side and imagine a shared future we want to create. I emphasize shared future? What does it mean for all of us to be able to participate in this future of the Near West Side? And ask for those of you who are interested, and if you have some time to put in the chat, what do you see as some of the strengths of the Near West Side? What do you see as possible the future vision for the Near West Side? And that's a lot there, but I will say for me, I think one of the strengths, going back to what I mentioned about what the residents, we do have a great community with great schools, great people, great assets that are important to how we operate. So our anchor institutions, our schools, great university, that plays into us, to the community, how we make sure we educate our children, how we make sure we feed our community. And I like the fact that we have those assets. Many of us who are familiar with Milwaukee know that there are some communities that don't have schools or don't have anchor institutions. And so that's important. So that's how I would say some of the highlights of some of the strengths and the vision, I would say, for the Near West Side. I always say this as the executive director of the Near West Side, is quality of life. How do we improve the quality of life of our residents? And I think that's a big key for me. And that it means a number of different things, but how do we improve the quality of life? Rachel, before I get into day 2, you want to talk a little about Mr. David Cooperrider?
Sure. So this was a learning for me as well, but I'll just tell you that Dr. David Cooperrider, he's an academic, so he's a professor, and he was described to me, I think, by Pat Kennelly. It was one of our Marquette friends. It's like he's like a rock star in academia. Like, okay, but this whole appreciative inquiry process he actually came up with quite a few years ago, and it's really, I think, finally hit its stride. This is what we need now in the times that we have now, where we're so divisive, and there's a lot of everybody kind of thinks everybody else is doing better than they are kind of thing. And the premise is you bring the whole system, and by that mean this is a summit of 200 people. They have done summits with as many as 1,000, and you really try to make sure you're getting all the voices, all of the stakeholders in the room together. It's a virtual room, but in the room together. And then, so that's a key piece. And that's what we mean by that whole system part. And then this other really key piece is in the word appreciative. And that's where you lean into the assets, you lean into the strengths. There's actually research that shows that when you have a positive kind of focus, and when you lean into talking from how can we make more of our strengths instead of getting bogged down in everything that's wrong, like, so you just flip the lens on it. Actually, different things happen in your brain in terms of the brain chemicals, and it actually makes us all more able to kind of work together in a way that's going to really drive results. So I don't want to use the word productivity because that sounds wrong for this context, but it's a way of channeling positivity in a way that's actual real in terms of results that you drive. So I personally have never been involved in something. I've done, strategic planning, all kinds of stuff for Harley over the years. And, and in the corporate world, it's been, the 2 pizza rule. You keep your team small so that they can be fast and nimble. And this really kind of turns it on its head, that you really open it up to as many different voices as possible to represent this whole system. And you actually get more done in this relatively condensed period of time. 2.5 days is actually not a lot of time to put into, if you'll think about it, defining a future vision for the Near West Side to guide us for the next 10, 20 years. So it's pretty powerful. And he's done this with, Kofi Annan had Dr. Cooperrider come in to facilitate an appreciative inquiry session with the entire UN leadership. He's done it with the US Navy. Some pretty crazy and unpredicted and impressive groups. And now this whole thing is going to come right here with the Near West Side. And again, personally for Harley, I'm also looking forward to how we can then leverage this approach just even internally to really think differently. So that was a very long answer, but there you go.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I'm pretty excited to go through this process. As you mentioned, some very high profile groups have used this process to get actually some things done. And so that's really exciting. For day 2, we will talk about the strengths and visions that we shared on the previous day and begin to look at ways we might turn them into actionable ideas. We will look at the who, the how, the when, and the what is needed to make our shared future happen. Lindsay, I do got a question for you, and this is more about the process. I mentioned about families and things of that nature, and residents and homeowners. Lindsay, who do you think, if you could make a pitch, who should be from the Near Side should be at this summit? What type of voices are we looking for? Is it do we just want adults? We don't want to hear from the young people? Or is it just the renters? We don't want to hear from the homeowners? I mean, who do we want to hear from at this summit?
Well, without being too general, we do want to hear from everybody. But I think you make such a good point, Keith. You know, we're going to be dreaming about our future. So while we definitely want to hear from our neighbors who have been in the Near West Side for the last, 10, 20, 25, 50 years, we also really want to hear from the youth that are living in the neighborhood, that are going to school in the neighborhood, that are coming to the Near West Side for educational and entertainment purposes. Because when we think about our future, it's not long for you and I. It's really that the today's youth that is going to be building that and shaping what the Near West Side looks like. We also really want to hear from our renting population. Near West Side has a lot of renters, and I think sometimes there is this impression that because you rent, you don't care as much about your community. And I would challenge that so much. I know so many renters who are very committed to where they live, to making sure that their buildings are safe, to making sure that their neighborhood is clean, to making sure that they have everything that they need right here so that they don't have to travel across town for basic services. So, anybody who is interested and dedicated to shaping what the future of the neighborhood looks like should be part of this event. And again, that could be attending virtually the 21st, 22nd, or 23rd, or also participating at one of our events, Brats for Your Thoughts, or joining us at the Oasis coming up. I would also add, and I failed to mention this earlier, but for those who really do want to attend, but may have some technical challenges that would bar them from joining virtually, we can, and we will be working with a group to have some small group in-person sessions during that 3-day period. So, if you have the time, but just maybe not the technical setup, we can definitely help you with that.
I appreciate that, Lindsay. Thank you. And I'm so glad you painted that broad brush as far as everyone. I know we have been very intentional as far as the Near West Side partners and working closely with those who are organizing these events to reach out to the youth and reach out to a number of different schools in the neighborhood. So we're really excited that we will have a number of youth voices at this event, which is really valuable. Rich, I want to come back to you because I got a couple of questions for you. I hope that you might be able to help us understand and put some context to it. So the first question, the last day, I do have a statement, but I want to kind of get your thoughts. What are we pushing for on the last day? As far as, so you mentioned that word actionable, and I'm curious about your thoughts on that. So what are we looking for the last day? And then what does that mean coming out of this? What does this mean for our residents in our community as we come out of this Appreciative Inquiry Summit? So I hate to put those two questions together, but what should we expect on that last day? And then coming out of it, what should we expect?
No, those go together well, Keith. So that is okay. You can tag me for both of those. So as you mentioned that, day 2, we already start, we get into design and that, think design, think action. Those two words are going together. So this last day is all about design and action planning. Like, what are we really going to move forward coming out of this 3-day event? Who's committed? Who wants to work on which of the key themes for action that come out of it? And we're fully expecting a good 10 to 15, maybe even more really concrete designed. These are things we want to see get implemented across the Near West Side. And then post summit, we really want to continue that momentum. How do we get word out? We will be getting the word out through channels like this in terms of what was discussed, what were the outputs of the summit, what's next, how can you get involved? I think Near West Side Week might be a great time to, spend some more focused time on what the future looks like, how we really think we can accelerate it, and how people can involve in the things that are most meaningful to them. I think that's the beauty of the design as well, is that there's a little bit of self-selection so that your passions actually go along with where you're devoting your energy. What did I miss? Another part? I think I got both parts. Yeah, there you go.
Yes, you did. Got both parts. In the link you'll see, and I just double so everybody, you'll see a link to the summit. This web page highlights what the summit again is all about, and also has an RSVP for those who want to go to register now. We're encouraging everyone. I see a number of my buddies and friends who have joined us today. I'm not going to call your name out because I know you're going to register, so I'm not going to call your name out. And so we're hoping that everyone register, and not just you. We're asking, not just a representative from organizations, but those who can attend. And I encourage you, if you can't do the 3-day summit, that you pick a time that you can do and join us. There's a lot of breakout sessions. Will be a number of great speakers, and it's just a time for us to focus on the Near West Side. I had the opportunity to speak with for the virtual State of the City address about a month or so ago. And one thing I shared on that piece, I think that we've all have learned, is that we need each other. This pandemic taught us that we need each other. No matter where you're living at, no matter how much wealth, someone has to pick the lettuce for you to eat. And we need to figure out how that person that's picking lettuce has a decent quality of life, and vice versa. We all play a role. And I think this summit allows us to come together as a community and talk about how do we make sure that this area and this community is working for everyone, because we need each other. And so I really, really appreciate that. Lindsay and Rachel, I want to just come back to you for last thoughts as we begin to wrap this up. Any ideas, any considerations for the people? This video will live on in our YouTube channel, be archived there, so feel free to say anything you would like so it can live on our YouTube channel. Lindsay, you want me to start with you first?
I know that there are so many people in the Near West Side who have a dream and a vision of what our community can look like. I know there's so many positive things going on, and there's a lot of positive things that not everybody knows about, the little things that we do every day that make a little bit of a difference. So I'm excited about the summit to bring everybody together, to hear about those ideas, to hear about those actions, and to really make that plan for how to figure out what those actionable steps are. That the next couple of years are going to be a lot of fun, and it'll be fun working on it together.
Yeah, I'll just add, representing a company that's been in the Near West Side since its founding in 1903, I'm really excited about kind of this next, what's this next 100 years look like for Harley-Davidson, and how do we play an active and important role in making sure that the Near West Side is not only great for Harley-Davidson, but great for everybody in the neighborhood. And we haven't always taken that role on as a corporation. So personally, I'm really excited to see us looking at the neighborhood more holistically, and also being part of driving all of the great things that can happen in the future.
I appreciate that, Rachel. 7 neighborhoods, strong history, shared future, coming together to accelerate a bright future for the Near West Side with healthy and happy people, thriving, united neighborhoods, and vibrant and equitable economies. Please, once again, join us for our Appreciative Inquiry Summit. That is July 21st, 22nd, 23rd, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's virtual again, so you can just click on a link and sit back and enjoy a great conversation and participate in a great conversation about the future of the Near West Side. With that, I am going to sign off. If you have any questions and you want to reach out about the summit or about anything that we've mentioned earlier today, feel free to reach out to the Near West Side partner staff, including myself or anyone else. With that said, we're signing off. Rachel, thank you for the opportunity. I know you guys are busy at Harley, and thank you, Lindsay, for all the work that you do making things happen. So with that said, everyone, have a good day.